I had to blow the clown horn. I had to blow it.
Holy dud. Even in the worst, this is divorce.
But
show me the passion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. Right? There's no saving grace in the timeline that's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, of the rebuild. The most disappointing thing, there's nothing. Mm-hmm. We got nowhere to go. Like, do you think this is imploded? It's not. We got to blow it up even more.
So, moving on, I do want to get into a conversation now about why it took so long for the Detroit Tigers to make this move, specifically Chris Ilitch. And, he had a press conference yesterday. It's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. I mean, I walked out of that press conference. I didn't walk out. I turned it off thinking, my God, we are screwed.
I've got a little clip from it.
Please, let's see it.
So I would say to you, I didn't trade those players away, right? Our general manager did. Al did. That's his role. If you're asking if the organizational, I'm not going to comment on past activities and, go through a litany of moves that Al has made over the course of the past years. You can all assess that on your own. And I'm really focused at this point looking forward. I believe bringing in a new leader in our baseball operations area is going to give us fresh perspective. It's a real opportunity to reevaluate everything that we're doing and bring new ideas in a fresh perspective as we go forward. And so my focus is going forward. But I did want to spend time with you today to talk about why I made this decision and where we head from here.
Yeah, listening to that press conference, I had to blow the clown horn. I had to blow it. Because a couple reasons, too. Chris Ilitch, to me, you could tell he just isn't passionate enough. He could care less. And you could see this from a mile that it was coming. And Ilitch said it was just because of this season. They didn't see progress. Okay. But we can see and look back on what Al Avila's done through trades, the MLB draft, free agency. He found a way to be lousy at all three of those things. And it's been detrimental to this franchise and its fans. But D-Mac, hearing that press conference or seeing the snippets, what came to your mind? Disappointment.
It's embarrassing, man.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing. It really is. I retweeted a tweet. Darren McCarty 4th. Follow me on Twitter from my buddy TJ Lang. It's just the aloofness to. You know what it reminds me of? I'm watching that, and I, unfortunately, I've heard the interview already. I've seen it. I was just watching, and I wasn't listening, but I was watching the mannerisms. You know what it was reminding me of? Honestly, somebody reported on COVID. Hey, this is the COVID thing. He looks like a doctor up there, buttoned up, what he's gonna say. And when you listen, how can you say there's no progress after you tell me in one sentence a month ago that the rebuild is over? And so the aloofness. What do I always say? It's from the top. It starts from the top and stuff like this. So here's the saving grace. Right? There's no saving grace in the timeline that's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, of the rebuild. The saving grace is that God, hopefully, somebody with the baseball acumen and the passion, right, to be a little bit, to do the things that Chris doesn't want to do. Why do the Red Wings work? Because Steve Yzerman is the end-all, be-all. Where the fact is that if he came in and said, hey, hey, Chris, I'll see you at the Stanley Cup parade in, 6, 7 years. Till then, stay out of my way. That's what we need, right? I don't know. I think you nailed it, because here's the one thing. Let's watch Steve Yzerman, Derek Lalonde, the GM and coach of the Wings, talk about the Wings, talk about preparations, hear the passion, hear Steve Yzerman sit down with Daniela Bruce, talk about players that he signed and the passion that you get that with him, right? You go to Troy Weaver, you go to Dwayne Casey, talk about building this team. There's passion in that team. You Hard Knocks, talk about it all the time. Is there passion in Allen Park? Okay, right? We know. Holy dud. Even in the worst, this is divorce, right? This is the end of whatever else. And yes, I know Al's a good dude and whatever else, but we're talking about winning games. And obviously, to me, the most heart-wrenching thing isn't the wins and losses. It just seems a lack of compassion or care. And I can't I don't come from that. And I come from that family and stuff. And so my hope is that he puts the right person in place. Because he didn't have the right person in place. We know that. We saw that. We are where we're at. It's not going to do any different. Just make sure you get it right. Right? Just make sure you get it right.
That's it.
You know? Bring me a Dan Campbell guy. Bring me a guy that cares. Bring me a guy that I'm gonna question a little bit some of his moves. But show me the passion. That's what I want. That's a start. Let's start there.
And Sean Murphy says, my guy Sean in the chat,
Murph!
Chris Ilitch has the characteristics of a bad owner. He wants all the credit without the accountability. And that's where I was going to. I want to read some quotes from his presser, specifically this one. Chris Ilitch on shedding payroll and trading away players like Justin Verlander and JD Martinez. This man said, I didn't trade those players away, right? Our general manager did. That's the lack of accountability, not acknowledging it. And I think also, for him to let Al Avila drive the ship completely without overseeing it, that's my issue. It works with Yzerman, but it ain't going to work with Al Avila.
Let me ask you a question where you guys can understand this, okay? Let's take it to where you guys understand because you work for an owner here, right? And Chad Johnson, Woodward Sports. He has Lady Jane's and numerous other things, right? But at the end of the day, if there's not success with the Woodward Sports or something goes wrong or whatever like that, who does that come down on? Right? Who do you hear from?
Leadership.
Who's the one? Right? Who's the one that I can look at you, I can look at you, and I can look at you and say, who's the one that holds accountable and holds the ship together? And we know, right? It's Chad. As much as he's got everything else in the world going on, and we're talking about a multi-millionaire. But this is his passion, and he cares. And just because he's in the office this week, it doesn't matter. But when he comes in, he shows you that he cares, right? He makes you believe in that he's all about the team. There's no question about it, right? Which makes we have good days, we have bad days. You know, everybody's human being here, but you feel that team, right? That's what you need. That's, to me, is how the owners work. Right? That's you aren't your father's keeper, right? And he is not his old man. I like Chris Ilitch. I mean, Chris Ilitch is great to me. But calling him but speaking about his decisions as owner of my baseball team that I followed longer, you know, as long as I've been alive out of any of these teams, it's just not acceptable. And I won't accept that, and the accountability. That's the big thing. Is you don't have accountability to yourself instead of saying, okay, you know, everything I said. What would be wrong with him coming out and saying, okay, had the wrong guy in place. I thought we were done and we're not. And you know what? This is where we're at. I'm frustrated, right? What do we see out of everybody else? The other three teams that I said.
Sheila when Matt Patricia was fired. And Bob Quinn.
So that's what I'm saying. And you look at the transparency. You look at Dan Campbell with the compassionate guys. We're doing physicals, and this is why. This is why, right? You buy into that stuff. What? I mean, do you blame the Tigers? And I mean, so some of the younger, the understanding of maybe the regression of a Spencer Torkelson or even a Riley Green and some of these guys is understandable, right? Because you need that foundation of the organization behind you, and you need it to be, we've seen it enough in sports, and if the Detroit Tigers aren't one of the worst run sports organizations, I don't know who is.
Yeah, and you could translate it to being just working. Like if I work in an environment that is positive, uplifting, and has a plan, a direction, you're going to be a better employee.
And think about but it's not when things are great. Right, it's like Dan Campbell said.
At least there's a direction.
It's like Dan Campbell said, this is the best you're going to feel all year. So it's not when you feel great. It's easy to play well and easy to when it's great and, you know, having a good day because Avila's fired and coming in here watching puppy dogs and stuff like this and time's flying and, you know, all this stuff. That's great. But there's other days. It's when it's down. Who picks you up? Who you know, right, that you just show up and somebody's going to get you out of that. That's what it's about.
And you spoke to it about being one of the worst run organizations in sports. Like, going from the Lions, going from Martha and Martin and the Bob Quinn era to what they are now with Sheila and Brad Holmes, compared to the Tigers going in the opposite direction. It's crazy.
Can we not give Sheila a couple flowers?
Oh,
For
of
sure.
course.
Please?
She deserves it.
That's what I'm saying. Boo her for, it's okay. Boo her for the Calvin. And right, exactly. But you know what? Where you see that she's trying and she's putting people in, Sheila should sit down with Chris and explain how to go out and the hiring process, right? To stand back, because that's the role I want Chris Ilitch in. Sort of what Sheila's doing, right? Be around, but don't have the decisions. You put the coaches in place to coach and the general manager, because again, the most disappointing thing, there's nothing. We got nowhere to go. Except worse, we got to implode. Like, do you think this is imploded? It's not. We got to blow it up even more.
And I see people commenting. All the comments are coming in. Dave Schultz says, Chris just wants to sit back and make money. He doesn't even want to lift a finger to handle the day-to-day operations. Stevie is spoiling him with the Red Wings. He needs to be better than a translator for the Detroit Tigers. My man Dave.
Here, Mike G always comes up with a great one, and I like this because I was a big fan of the Far Side cartoons. But it's like where the bear in the woods with the crosshairs on him, and he's pointing at the other bear next to him. I've seen that one. Right? No, not me. Him. It was him.